All right, everyone. Welcome back to Methough, episode 29. And today we're going to be talking about should Elden Ring or Soulsborne Games in general have a difficulty slider? And I'm going to go ahead and tell you now. I say yes and I say no. But we'll get into that here in a second. The first thing I want to say, though, is that if y'all could ever be so kind, especially with the topic we're talking about today, and that is go and check out my Elden Ring video I just put out. I would highly appreciate it. Y'all know I don't ever ask y'all for shit because at the end of the day, I just believe in you're going to watch what you want to watch. You're also going to like whatever videos you want to like. So me wasting my breath saying it ain't going to make a difference. But in this case, I would really like for y'all to go and check it out. And yes, I know it's 2 hours long. So for a lot of y'all out there, you might as well be running a 24-hour marathon watching that. I get it. But the reason why it's 2 hours long is because of this. And I'm going to break the video down so you can understand why it's 2 hours long. The first part of the video is me basically recapping a video that I did 2 years ago when the game first came out and showing how bad I was at the game, right? And then the second half of the recap is me trying to play the DLC on day one and showing how fucking bad it was performing. And then the rest of the video is me playing the DLC in real time. And the reason why I did the video like that is to basically show you how far I've come, not only in the Soulsborne genre, but also with Elden Ring itself. And so if you could ever be so kind to go check that out for me, I would really appreciate it. If you don't, that's fine too. But I was like, fuck it, why not? I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there because I think it's a really good and entertaining video, especially when I actually start playing the DLC in real time. And some of the boss fights that I did and some of the places that I went in that first area and the amount of fun I had, and you could just see the excitement on my face. I think a lot of y'all will really enjoy it. Not only that, yes, there is no face cam this time around. And I'm just going to be 100% honest with you. I really did not feel like cutting on the camera today. I'm just not in the mood. I'm tired. I'm still kind of groggy. So if you end up hearing me and I end up fucking up and mincing my words or mixing them together, whatever the case may be, just like I just did, just bear with me. But that's the reason why there's no webcam. And so with all of that out the way, let's now finally start talking about should Soulsborne Games have a difficulty selector? So, like I just said, I believe yes and no. So let me start off with my yes and the reason why I think it should. But it may not be for the reason that a lot of you, or I ain't gonna say it may not be. Once again, I'm tired, so bear with me. It's not for the reason that a lot of you think I'm saying yes. The reason why I say it should have a difficulty slider, and even with that, or a difficulty selector, however the fuck you want to phrase it, even with that, it's for a very specific reason. So to me, it should have a difficulty slider for this one specific purpose, and that's after you beat the game. And here's what I mean by that, right? Let's take Elden Ring, because this is the one, it's this game that the topic has really become prevalent. This question has always been asked for quite some time now, the more and more the Soulsborne genre has blown up and become popular. And especially when you had games like Jedi Fallen Order that had a difficulty selector and stuff like that. So there's a lot of people who will point to that and be like, see, that's the reason why you can have one and it still be difficult. Because let's not act like Fallen Order isn't difficult. It still is difficult, especially when you play on Jedi Grandmaster. It is extremely fucking difficulty. Once again, I'm tired, bear with me. It's extremely difficult. But to me, when you're talking about, for the most part, the Soulsborne genre, the only reason why I say yes, that it should have one, and for a very specific reason, is that I think it should, and once again, we're going to use Elden Ring as the example, it should be after you beat the game. And the reason why I say it should be after you beat the game is because Elden Ring has so much shit in it that 99% of the time, if not 95% of the time, most of that shit you're going to end up fucking missing on your playthrough. Now, granted, that's the whole point of New Game Plus and all of that stuff, because if you did miss something, you can go back and get it in New Game Plus. And I get that. Before anybody even tries to use that as a defense point, I get that. But at the same time, not every time I want to play that game, I want to deal with the over-the-top as difficulty that does come with it. And that's the only reason why I say, yes, it should have one, but after you beat the game. Because there's certain quest lines that you're going to miss. There's certain items that you're going to miss. And I don't see there being anything wrong with somebody wanting to play the game again, but on a lesser difficulty to where they can get that platinum, where they can get that whatever the equivalent is on Xbox Live in Steam. I don't see a problem with that, because at the end of the day, you've beaten the game on the initial difficulty that the game was set out to be on. You see what I'm saying? Once again, only after you've beaten the game, there should be one. If you've beaten the game on its initial difficulty, how the developers made it and it was meant to be played, I absolutely see nothing wrong with there being a difficulty slider afterwards. If you want to go back through the game and mop up some of the achievements and trophies, or you just want to explore the world, I don't see anything wrong with that. Elden Ring is a beautiful fucking world that I would love to just sit down and explore. I really would. And that's one of the times I would really like to have a difficulty slider, because I would just love to explore the world. Or let's say I do want to play through the game again, but I just genuinely don't want to deal with the difficulty and I just want to have a good time going through the game and experiencing it again. I don't see the problem with that, especially, and I'm going to keep on putting emphasis on this, especially if I've already beaten it on its initial difficulty that the developers have set. So that's where I believe it should have one, only after you've beaten it initially. And I'm going to keep on saying that. Only after you've beaten it initially. That is where I truly think you should have one. Now on to where I don't think it should have one. The reason why I don't think it should have one, and I hate to be one of these niggas, but the thing about it is that one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video is because I feel like my perspective might be quite unique, and it may not be, because there's millions of people who play these games, so there's probably millions of people that feel the same way. But maybe I'll be able to articulate it in a way that makes it unique. The reason why I wanted to talk about this, and the reason why I feel this way about not having one, is because I've said it multiple times already, but Lies of P is the game that really got me into the Soulsborne genre. Don't get me wrong, I had played some of them before Lies of P. Like I played Bloodborne, and I think I got like 80 hours in Bloodborne. But one of the problems, especially during that time, and that's one of the reasons why I will always give Lies of P its flowers, is that there was so much going on in Bloodborne, and really in a lot of From Software games. There's so many different mechanics and aspects of it that it can become quite overwhelming. And when you also add in the simple fact that you're dying, there's no real compass, so you're just walking around aimlessly most of the time trying to figure out what the fuck to do. It became quite old to play, and that was one of the reasons why I always had fallouts with the Soulsborne genre. The thing about Lies of P was that it was so simplistic, it was straight to the point. Yes, it was quite linear, which is one thing that I did love about it. But because of that, you was actually able to focus on the game and the mechanics and understand the blueprint of what makes a Soulsborne, right? And so because of that, that game ended up helping me understand the genre as a whole, to where ultimately, and I talked about this in my Elden Ring video that I just dropped, that ultimately it helped me get back into Elden Ring, to where after 2 years of not playing that game, because I played it when it first initially came out, I had put about 80 hours into it, and then I just kind of dropped it like I did with Bloodborne, and then I ended up playing Lies of P, and because of that, it got me back in the game. And in the video I even show it, I end up on my save profile. Now I have even more since the DLC came out, but at that time when I had made that video, I ended up having 174 hours in Elden Ring because of that game, because it helped me learn how to play the Soulsborne genre. Now, granted, you're talking about the way that a From Software game plays from Lies of P is completely two different things. Lies of P is more parry-based and stuff like that, where, you know, Elden Ring has like mechanics on top of mechanics on top of mechanics. But you get my point. It was that transition and that understanding from playing Lies of P that end up ultimately helping me go back and play Elden Ring and falling in love with it. And so where I'm getting at with the no part, I promise you, all of this is going to make sense here in a second. Where I'm ultimately getting at from the no part is that because I don't have the love and the amount of sentimental attachment and emotional attachment to the genre like most people, I can see it from both sides. And now that I've actually started to get into the other side where everybody always likes to yell out "Git Good" no matter what the question or the critique may be. Like, I'm pretty sure there's somebody out there, if somebody was to talk about why was there never a fucking recent items tab in Elden Ring, or a little icon to show you what you just picked up that it took them 2 fucking years in a DLC to put in the game, they're always just gonna be yelling out "Git Good." Outside of them motherfuckers, and even though I'm sort of on their side now and I can understand where some of them come from when they always throw out the "Get Good" shit, the thing about it is that at the end of the day, the whole point of a Soulsborne genre is for you to learn. Or a Soulsborne game. That's what I meant to say. Sorry, not Soulsborne genre, but you get my point. That is, but it is. That's the whole point of the Soulsborne genre. It's for you to learn. And if you do not have the time to sit down and learn from your mistakes, then you just don't need to play them. And this is where I say no, that it doesn't need a difficulty slider. And I'll use Lies of P as an example. Lies of P is a game that I put a lot of time into, like outside of YouTube and on YouTube. I had a specific profile that I was playing outside of YouTube, and that's where I got good. If you go back and watch that series, which I know you're not, I'm just speaking. If you go back and watch that series, when I first started playing that game, I was like your average casual ass Soulsborne fan or player. I would be getting pissed off. I would think everything is unfair. I'd be like, man, why the fuck they gotta do that, man? This shit's unfair. I can't do that, blah, 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 blah. Which there still is some of that. Let's not get it twisted. And I'm gonna spoil it a little bit, but once again, if you go and watch that Elden Ring video that I played, there was a part in there where I was fighting this one boss, and he was like a little optional boss, like off in this little like, I don't know what the fuck you would even call it, but anyway, he was like in this area where it was like almost like a like, I can't think of the fucking name. It was like a tomb sort of. Fuck it, I'll just call it a tomb. He was like in a tomb or whatever, right? And I was hitting him, and he went to go heal, and because I had fist, I fucking knocked him out of his heal. But then, because the game wanted him to heal, he went to go heal again, and even though I was still hitting him, he still got his heal off. While I was in the middle of punching him in his fucking face, he was still able to heal, even though I was punching him in his fucking face, because I canceled it out the first time, so they forced him to heal, which that shouldn't be allowed. That's some bullshit, because when my black ass tried to heal, they could smack me the fuck up and down all day, but they forced him to heal. They gave him iframes to heal. That's that bullshit. But you get my point. That is a part of the game. Sorry. What I'm getting at is that there are some aspects of Elden Ring or Soulsborne that are just completely bullshit, no matter how much you try to say "Get Good." But my point is that through me sitting down and learning Lies of P, and really taking my time to learn it, I ultimately end up getting good to where about time I got to the last boss on YouTube, I beat him on my first shot. Now, granted, that was still with me playing him on my other profile and dying about 40 times probably. I think I died to that dude at least about 40 or 50 times before I played him and beat him on YouTube on my first try. But you get my point. When I first started, I was just like everybody else. But through the process of me sitting down and learning the game and getting good, I ultimately end up making the final boss look like he wasn't shit. And that is the point of a Soulsborne genre. And if you do not have the time to get good at the game, then it sounds like to me you shouldn't fucking play it. Now, I understand, and I don't know if I've already said this. Like I said, I'm tired, so you're just gonna have to bear with me. I understand there's a lot of people out there that could say, well, even with that, you got games like Jedi Fallen Order that has a difficulty selector, especially when you're talking about something like Jedi Grandmaster. And I get that. But at the end of the day, you still have to get good. Even in that game, even with the difficulty slider, the only thing that it really changes is how hard the enemies hit you in the parry window. But you still have to get good. You still have to learn the mechanics and the ins and out of that game in order to be an effective fucking player. So my point still stands. If you do not have the time to fucking sit down and learn the game, then it sounds like to me you shouldn't play it. Don't take away from what other people are willing to do just to suit your narrative. And look, I understand, because I've seen some people say, oh, well, you know, there's people with families and people with kids and yada, yada, yada. They're not going to have enough time to sit down and learn the game. Hello? That sounds like a personal problem, because it doesn't matter what game you're trying to play. You're always going to have to invest some time into it in order to get good at it. Let's take Call of Duty for an example. Call of Duty used to be a fucking casual game that everybody loved to play. But since Modern Warfare 2 and that fucking skill-based matchmaking, it is nothing but fucking sweats on that game. Even when you're playing in casual, we're not even talking about ranked. We're talking about casual fucking matches. You constantly run into sweats. That's one of the reasons why I stopped playing Call of Duty, is because I'm not trying to sit here and be going all pro MLG and shit every fucking game I try to play in Call of Duty. Like, dead ass. That's the reason why I don't even play Call of Duty anymore. I'd rather go play dead ass Battlefield 2042, where at least I can have fun, than to be fucking sitting there sweating my ass off trying to get 10 fucking kills in a game. Are you gonna tell Call of Duty, like you see what I'm saying? It's the same fucking thing in Call of Duty. And here's the thing, people have been bitching and complaining at Activision to take out skill-based matchmaking, and they still haven't. And guess what? Motherfuckers buy Call of Duty every year. So what's the difference? If you're gonna play an RPG, especially if you're talking about a JRPG, you're gonna have to put hundreds of hours into that motherfucker. Let's look at something like Persona 5, one of the most popular ones to come out in recent memory. Them motherfuckers easily over 400 hours. You can easily stretch that game out to over 400 hours. Are you gonna sit there and tell Atlas, you need to make Persona way more accessible so I don't have to spend 400 hours on this game? No, because that's a part of it. If you don't want to deal with it, don't fucking play it. It's just that simple. It's literally just that simple. Don't try to manipulate and change something to suit your narrative because you don't want to deal with the aspects of it. What makes a Soulsborne game is you constantly dying and learning from your mistakes. If you don't want to go through that grind of learning from your mistakes, then you don't need to fucking play it. It's just that simple. It's literally just that simple. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. Then just don't fucking play it. And I hate to be that way. That's why I said I hate to go down the route of the Git Good Soulsborne players, but it's true to a certain extent. If you cannot handle dying over and over again, if you cannot handle sitting down and trying to learn the intricacies of the game, then you don't need to play it. And here's the other thing. I'm not saying that these games can't get like overly intricate. There's still certain aspects and mechanics of Elden Ring that I've never even utilized nor even know how to do. Like the parrying system, I don't even attempt to do that shit in Elden Ring. I'd rather just dodge, roll, and jump over everything if I can. Because the parrying system in that game is just not meant for me compared to like Lies of P, where that was the main focus, so they made it the highlight and they made it easy to understand. In Elden Ring, it's a completely different ball game, so I don't even fucking try to parry in the game. But that doesn't take away from the rest of the game or me trying to learn the rest of the game. I'm not sitting here telling From Software, hey, you need to make parrying easier so I can do it. No, I either need to get good at fucking parrying or just not do it at all, which I choose not to do it. Why? Because I don't feel like getting good at it. I'd rather just fight a motherfucker straight up. That's just how I feel about it when it comes to the parrying, at least. You see what I'm saying? So that's the reason why I say no, that it doesn't need a difficulty slider. And to me, it doesn't matter if you have a family, you have kids and stuff like that. If you want to get good at the game, you're going to get good. And that's why I brought up Call of Duty. Because I can tell you now, there's probably a father out there that has 2 small children that sweats his fucking ass off trying to get good at Call of Duty so he can have a good time. I can tell you that right now. There's probably some mom out there who's playing Persona 5 and has 2 kids, and even though she don't want to sit down and try to learn the right fucking monsters to fuse together and do all of that and learning, because I think you can fuse monsters in Persona 5. I don't know. It's been a minute since I played Persona 5, so I might be wrong. You might not be able to fuse monsters, but you get my point. Like, all the mechanics and intricacies that go into Persona, I'm pretty sure she's still trying to learn that shit and understand that shit while taking care of 2 kids. Because at the end of the day, if you want to learn something and you want to get good at something, you're going to fucking do it regardless. So no, I don't think it should have a difficulty slider just because motherfuckers don't want to put in the time to get good. Because if I can, and I know some people going to get mad at me for saying this, but it's true. If I can sit here and play Lies of P, and sit down and learn from my mistakes to where, once again, in that final video where I faced the nameless puppet, which is easily one of the hardest fucking enemies in the game, one of the hardest bosses, like, he was intentionally made to be that fucking difficult. If I can beat him and learn from my mistakes and get good and beat him, anybody else can too. You just got to be willing to put in the work. It's no different from, I just thought of another genre. Let's look at fighting games. Fighting games are the same thing. No matter how simplistic you make them, you still have to learn how to get good at them. Dragon Ball FighterZ, despite how simple it may be on the surface, is still technically one of the most advanced fucking fighting games out there. Despite the inputs being simple and all of that, it's still advanced. And if you want to get good at the game, what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to sit your monkey ass down and learn the fucking intricacies of the game and learn how to get good at the motherfucker. You're going to lose a lot. It's a part of it. Are you going to sit here and tell fucking Arc System Works that they need to make it even easier so you don't have to fucking learn how to play the game? Come on, dude. Like, let's stop that shit. But where I'm getting at with all of this too, this is going to lead into my next point. So that's my overall answer, by the way, is yes and no. I gave you both answers and both sides of the coin on why I think it should have one and why I don't think it should have one. But here's the real topic to me, and I think it's the thing that a lot of people have either ignored or they just haven't paid attention to. And that is essentially where this whole uproar has come from. Is that I hate to be one of them people, because the thing about it is that I'm not that old. I'm not even 30 yet. That's the crazy thing. I'm not even 30 yet, but I just have the mentality of an old person. That's my problem. I've always been wiser and older beyond my years, even though I'm not even fucking 30 yet. Unfortunately, where this whole commotion, this stinky commotion has come from is unfortunately from the younger generation that don't want to put time into shit. And I know this is going to sound so fucking cliche, but it's true. Unfortunately, as each generation becomes more and more prevalent online and each generation passes, that instant gratification becomes more and more of a problem. And that's the thing. That is where this stink is coming from. You have so many people nowadays, especially younger people, who want that instant gratification that they don't want to put in the time and effort to actually get good at something. That's the reason why there was such a big commotion about the difficulty of Elden Ring. Because you have a lot of young people, and I promise you, I'm not attacking this man. I have no problem with this man. Out of anything, I commend him for being at the level that he's at, because this nigga be getting so many fucking popular and celebrities, popular people and celebrities on his fucking stream. I can't do nothing but commend him, and that's Casanat. To me, this is where the problem started. And once again, I'm not talking about with him. So let me make that abundantly clear. I'm not talking about Casanat. I'm talking about his fucking fans. This to me is where it started. I think personally, the reason why this is becoming a topic is because his fans watched him play it. And they were like, oh, I want to go and play this game because he's playing it. He's making it look fun. And they didn't understand how difficult the games are. Especially Elden Ring, because that was the one he was playing that he got a lot of notoriety from, right? Not saying he wasn't big before that, but I'm saying him playing it gave him even more exposure, which then therefore led to the game getting more exposure, right? And when you're watching somebody play it, you're not going to understand the difficulty until you get it in your hands. You see what I'm saying? Perfect example. I used to watch Maximilian Dude play Bloodborne all the time. That's what got me into Bloodborne, was watching him run through that game as many times as he possibly could. This nigga would just randomly one stream, just like, hey, we're gonna go through Bloodborne with level 1 weapons and see if I can beat it. Like basically what like a lot of the Soulsborne YouTubers do, where they'll be like, oh, I'm gonna go through the whole game as a level 1 character and not heal and all of that. Like I've seen Max do that with Bloodborne. And so through me watching him play Bloodborne, I wanted to play Bloodborne, but I didn't understand how difficult it was until I got it in my fucking hands. And at that time, which is essentially what I'm telling you now, I didn't want to go through the grind. I didn't want to sit down and learn the intricacies of Bloodborne. I didn't like that. Why? Because I even wanted instant gratification. I was like, man, why the fuck is this game so difficult? Why do I got to do this? Why do I got to do that? Why can't I just go and do this? Why just can't I go and do that? Once again, it took Liza P to break me out of that mindset. But to me, that is where the problem is. It's this younger generation that don't want to put in the time and effort. And I know I sound like an old man yelling at the clouds, but it's true. They don't want to spend the time to actually get good at something. So they rather sit there and bitch and complain about it. Because it's so easy to laugh and joke at somebody getting their ass whooped in Elden Ring or Bloodborne or Liza P or whatever, until you get that fucking controller in your hands and you try to do that shit your damn self. Then that's when you realize, oh, this shit's fucking difficult. This shit ain't nothing to be messed with. Like, you gotta actually have some skill to play these fucking games. And to me, that's where it comes from. To me, that's where all of this stems from. All of it stems from that. And to me, that's bullshit. If you don't want to put the time in, don't fucking play it. But don't try to alter an entire genre. That whole blueprint and foundation is built off its difficulty because you don't want to put the time and effort in. So that's all I got to say about it. That's what I think about the whole difficulty slider thing. Just a quick summary and recap, just in case if I lost you at some point. Yes, I do think it should have a slider, but only after you beat the game. Only after you beat the game. No, in the sense of that, if you don't want to put the time in to get good in the game, then don't fucking play it. Do not mess up an entire genre just because you don't want to put in the time and effort to get good. And I hate to say it like that, but it's true. Don't do that. Because you would do that for anything else you like. If you want to get good at Tekken, you're going to fucking put them hours into Tekken. If you want to get good at Dragon Ball FighterZ, you're going to put that time into Dragon Ball FighterZ. The list goes on and on. If you want to get good at Call of Duty, you're going to put the time in to get good at Call of Duty. So no, I don't think it should have one. Unless you've beaten the game. Just go ahead and combine those two together. And then last but not least, the only reason why this is even becoming a problem is because people nowadays just don't want to put the time in and they want instant gratification when that's what the Soulsborne genre has never been about. So don't try to take your I want instant gratification mentality and place it in something where it never belonged. As the age-old saying go, trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. That's essentially what y'all trying to do, and let's not let that happen. Let's not do that. If you don't have the time and patience, then don't. But let's not do that. Let's not try to put a square peg in a round hole. Let's not do that. And I want to go ahead and add this at the end, and I'm gonna wrap it up. I don't think the next Soulsborne game is going to suffer from this, where they're going to make it mainstream, because technically the Soulsborne games have been mainstream for quite some time, especially if you probably say like after Dark Souls 2. I would say Dark Souls 3 is probably when it became pretty mainstream, because even though I never kept up with that stuff, I've always been interested in the Soulsborne genre, and to me, Dark Souls 3 was like the first one I could think of that really blew up, that really got like critical praise and acclaim, and everybody knew about it. So if they haven't changed their formula up yet, and then not only that, Elden Ring, from what I understand, was meant to be as hard as it was, and they from the beginning wanted to be the hardest one, I don't see them changing it anytime soon, because I think they believe in their philosophy too much to let a few people who don't want to put in the time and effort to get good basically disrupt their whole fan base, and where they know their bread is going to be buttered. Because just like everybody else that love these games, I'm a masochist to a certain extent when it comes to these games, and it's like the more difficult they are, the more I love them and the more I play them. Even though I get pissed off and I'll be ready to throw my controller across the fucking world, I'm still sitting my fat ass right back down here, clocking in another 40 hours just to try to get past this one boss. You know what I mean? So that's my whole thoughts on whether or not Elden Ring should have a difficulty slider. Let me know what you think if you play Soulsborne games like that, on whether or not you think they should have a difficulty slider. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I don't have much else to say. I think I got it all out. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next one. And that one won't have a face cam either, because I'm about to record them bitches back to back. So, peace.